honest. I'm fucking hungover today.
Uh-oh.
Welcome everyone.
Uh-oh.
We'll talk about it. This is
Hornick's
Hungover
still blowing
James.
hot from the night before.
Hungover
Yeah.
James doing the intro. Let's see how a hungover James
not
does an
angry,
intro.
just irritable. It's two very
I
different
can,
things.
I can
That's what
smell
he
your
goes through
beer
this
sweats from here. Oh, God.
Welcome everyone to the most ill-conceived business podcast around, the Business of Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me are two gentlemen, two podcasts in a row. I was too lazy to come up with like a fucking catch here, because I'm too hungover today, honestly. But anyways, Jared and John, welcome back to the show. How you guys doing?
Not hungover.
Great. You look great. I'm not hungover. I feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
good for you guys. No,
It's a strawberry protein shake.
three beer hangover, guys. This is what happens in your 40s. You have you don't even think you're doing anything you shouldn't be doing on a Thursday night, and it's
I
Was that
Yes.
were they like 12.9 like swamp
no,
thing beer?
two,
What are
of
we
them,
drinking?
two of them were Guinness. It's like the weakest beer there is.
It's a good beer though.
Maybe
I
you
mean,
should switch to just like liquor. I feel like I have worse hangovers when I'm drinking beer than I do with liquor. If I'm just drinking like tequila.
Like a gluten allergy or something maybe tied to that.
Honestly, the thing is, it's if you get the liquor iced teas or the
Mike's
vodka
Hard
soda,
Lemonade?
those are all the weak stuff. That's where
Cheerleader
this
beer.
is headed.
Oof.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Now
you're
we're-
free now. You don't have you don't have to be at work. You don't have to. You're good to go.
it still
How's
hurts,
week-
man.
how's
It's
week
still
one
pain,
feel?
The pain is the same. This was week 2. By the time they
Week
hear
two?
this, will be week 4. No, it's good. It's solid, actually. Been very productive. My career as a prop trader is going very well.
Great.
So no complaints so far. Life
Any
will
updates?
change.
Any updates around what you're doing?
Buy, sell.
If we end up going the route of some sort of fund, which I can't really talk as much about publicly, there's some restrictions on what you can and can't say. That wouldn't be till next summer. So,
Okay.
but there's a lot to do in terms of business setup, as you guys know. But also before that, what I consider the product in terms of the actual defining the actual strategies, we're still testing different things out. So, but it's going well. Everything seems to be on the up and up. It's just you want to make sure you kind of nail things down perfectly before you commit things to paper and try to get investors and that kind of thing. So, but we're good.
Cool.
No
I
complaints.
feel like next week we're gonna see each other a lot, like all three of us,
Yes.
for the first time in a long time. We've got
Riot Fest.
James and I have a networking event though Tuesday. John and I are playing golf on Thursday, and then we've got a concert on Saturday we're all going to. So it's going to be
Yeah.
quite a week of
A lot of
debacle.
FaceTime. Like we
Bingo,
used to.
bango, ready to go.
Yeah. All right, we're already boring people. Let's get this moving, and that actually maybe that dovetails really well. We're going to talk about networking. This is episode 22. I think we're going to call it "Networking Ain't Bullshit." Maybe, John, this was a topic near and dear to your heart, and I want you to kind of set this up, the premise of what we're going to talk about today, but also why you want to talk about it, why you think it's so topical.
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. There are a lot of shitty networkers, people that add no value, and they're just super transactional. So I just thought it would be a good idea to kind of flesh some of these things out. And if to our 8 listeners, I think it's 8.5 now. There's a child, and we.
Somebody DM me that they're a listener now.
Okay, that's great.
So I think
That's
we're at
awesome.
10.
All right, we're at 10.
Yeah, keep on saying.
So I think we could add some context, just so maybe some people can look in the mirror. Not that we're even the best. And you know what? I think this is also another great point. If we are guilty of any of these things, I would love for people to call us out of some of the shitty things. So today I would like to talk about is what it means to be a shitty networker, what you should watch out for, and then we could probably share from experience of what we've had to go through, and maybe some techniques that you guys have, because I know you two you're pretty solid. In fact, that's how we all met was via networking.
And I also think one thing I want to make sure we hit on too is the fact that there's so many shitty networkers out there turns people off to networking. Makes
Dude,
people not
exactly.
wanna go to
Like bad
events.
SEO companies. SEO
it's-
doesn't work. It's like, because
Yeah.
you hired fucking losers.
Yeah, but it's the most effective way of getting sales and growing your business by far. They're not even
referrals.
close second. And we can kind of talk about that more too. I pulled some stats from a few different sources here. Only 25% of people actually network, despite 80% knowing it's essential to career success. 38% have trouble staying in contact with their network despite knowing it's important. 41% want to network more but say they don't have time. 79% say in-person meetings are a more important way to meet new clients, yet only 41% of people are able or willing to go do it and meet people in person. So, yeah, everyone knows it's something you should do, but no one wants to fucking do it.
It's like everybody wants abs, but
you
eating
said-
ice cream for breakfast.
What's the first one you said? 25%. of people,
People
actually network.
network despite 80% knowing they should.
So I'm curious to know how much of that 25% is in person versus virtual. That'd be an interesting number. Obviously, if you don't have it, that's fine. But
No.
I mean, that's just where we are.
I think it's
People
just
know that
networking
they
in
should
general.
network. People don't like it. Like I know people that are like they would rather cut their hand off than go out and network and meet strangers and people that they haven't met yet.
Well, I think that's a combination of like a fear of rejection, but also just the uncomfortableness of just meeting new people, and think of just being judged or whatever that may be. Or maybe they got some just awful shit going on in their life and they haven't dealt with it. They don't want to even interact with anybody else.
I think people are less equipped to. I think there's definitely an anxiety around meeting strangers and meeting new people, but I think part of it is systematic how the business world's gone, because I don't want to talk about outbound all over again. I feel like we've beaten that to death on this show, but high volume outbound, which had seen some success, seems easier, and you don't have to you just spam everybody, right? But the flip side is, and I hate on the personal level, people's personal relationships are more online and not in person nowadays. Whether that's maintaining relationships with friends, everyone's on private chats and Facebook, but even meeting new people, like dating apps, like no one actually goes out and talks to people to meet whoever they're trying to date. Like it's just we've created this society where, and I'm not saying I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but people are less able to apply that to the business world because there's such an anxiety around actually talking to strangers, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there still is for me when I go. If I go to an event by myself, like part of the play that I love about like us, like our group, and is that like we usually tag team. Like we usually go to networking events together. So anybody that's like up and coming, like young and knows that they need to get out and about, I would always say go find a partner. Go find somebody you can go like, so it's not as awkward to go with. But like I go to events sometimes and I'm like, I went to an event on Wednesday night, 2 nights ago, and I got there, didn't know anybody. And I was just sitting there on my phone for a second by myself. I was like, all right, I kind of look like a fucking douchebag right now. So put the phone away and just walked over to a conversation and said, I'm like, hey, I kind of looked, I didn't like the way I looked over there by myself, so I'm going to come and just interrupt this conversation. They're like, yeah, come on in. Like, we're great.
That's a cool person.
I knew about like 15 people, made connections by the end of the night just by having those conversations. And it's like, I think it's just once you like, figure out that first thing that you have to do at an event, everything opens up. And honestly, whether that's having a drink and like easing the tension or just starting a conversation with one person, opportunity comes from that. But if you don't even get to that point, then
so I don't drink really, right? Maybe
so
like
once
Good for you. I wish I didn't. As of this exact moment, I wish I didn't drink either.
Maybe like once or twice a year or something. I'm not going to put like a LinkedIn post where everybody celebrates my sobriety, which just annoys the shit out of me. Just like, oh great, you stopped eating really unhealthy shit. Good for you. So with that though, one of my techniques is if I go to an event, do not hesitate. Like just go right into a conversation. Because if you start messing about, all you do is just create more anxiety and more stress between it. And then you get that sense of like, oh, I look awkward or whatever that is. Just really just go up to somebody. And sometimes it's the wrong person. Sometimes it's the person with bad breath that's going to throw you in a corner and never going to let you go. But that's a whole nother muscle that you need to flex to be able to get out of that situation.
And sometimes it's going to be like, you'll see like a group of 3 people talking like, I feel like I could go probably jump in this conversation. These seem like a cool group of people. And you get up there and you jump in. And by the time you realize, you look at the name tags or whatever, you realize that all 3 of those people work together in like the same department.
Right.
And you're just now that guy that just came in out of nowhere. And as soon as I recognize that, which happens all the time, I try to get out as soon as possible.
Well, dude, yeah, because those are 3 underperforming employees. You do not want to be with those. They're not high performers.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I have plenty of stories. And
I got a few ready to get into them.
Yeah, story
James,
time.
you got anything?
All right.
Anything else?
No, I want to talk about. I actually laid out I have a whole strategy. I mean, I didn't have this. I'm organized. I have a strategy both for at the event plus post event, which is really what's effective, and also why. Because I think you guys will probably hit on this stuff. So I want to hit on that in the end, but I think you guys could provide. Good story time. Give us more context here.
So I have a few well, these are like bad networking stories, right? So there's one guy where the premise was like, all right, you tell somebody what you do, and then they're supposed to tell you what you do, and it's kind of just like the icebreaker type of agenda. So I get placed with this guy, and he's like, you go first. And I was like, all right. So I kind of just go maybe like a 20-second elevator pitch and say, hey, I'm John Surekis, and this is what I do. And then he's like going like this, like really intently. And I'm like, okay, this is a little, intense. And then he goes, all right, my turn. And then he just goes. And this guy would just, dude, it was like a machine gun going off. Like he would just not shut up. And I'm like looking around and just no breath, no anything. And I was like, all right, okay. And then like he grabs my arm, like to like stay. Or just like, no. And like you just have to continually like listen. It was probably, and this is early on in my career, it's probably one of the most awkward situations that I had to deal with. Because like this is networking. I'm like, fuck this, man. Yeah. I want nothing to do with it.
It's brutal.
Another quick one is this direct mail guy. This is more virtual. I've met this piece of shit 6 times, and this fucking guy. Dude, like he literally, I guess this is the thing. He's like, it's zombie networking where he just follows up like every quarter and he's just like, oh, hey, we need to reconnect. And he's going to tell me about his shitty direct mail business, which I know, like I do. And he never remembers me. And dude, if you schedule a call with me and you don't fucking remember me or even have the decency to just look at my LinkedIn profile to say like, hey, like, what does this guy do? Dude, I don't want to talk to you, man. You know what I mean? Like what is that? And here's the thing. The last time he reached out, I literally sent him an email saying, hey, man, I know exactly what you do. And I rattled it off. I was like, if there's nothing else new, I was like, there's no reason for us to have a conversation. And haven't heard back from him. And I think that's the other trap that people get into. Like in networking, if you love people and love meeting new people and you're being nice, you can get stuck into these traps where these people, all they're going to do is waste your time. They're never going to give you anything. And all you're going to do is just feel shitty. And you have to have the courage to say, I've got to be selective. I'm not talking to this fucker.
Yeah.
I'm realizing at some point we have to motivate people to want to network after these stories. Everyone's listen to this and they're going to be like, why should I do this shit if you guys hate it this much?
There are far more amazing things that have come, but people want to witness fucking car crashes. So we're going to talk about car crashes. The good stuff. Absolutely. Like nobody gives a shit about that. Like
I'll get to the why in a minute. But go ahead, Jared, go with your story.
I want to go back to something John said. Like one of the things in pet peeves that I have is when you get people that you're talking to that are looking right through you, that aren't listening to anything. Like John, you said that guy was nodding his head. That guy was not listening to anything you were saying. He just was waiting for you to stop talking so that he could talk. Like, and he didn't. No matter what you said, he was not listening to. He was just nodding his head, smile fucking everything that you're saying.
Dude, it's like
because
he
wanted to talk to you about. Yeah, like my thing when I go to networking events, and I think this is why I've gotten kind of decent at it, is because I never want to go and talk to somebody about what I do for a living, what my job is. Mm-hmm. Like all I want to do is go there and get to know like you, like crack some jokes, like talk about things that we like to do outside of work, whatever. If you ask me what I do, then I'll talk about it, right? But I'm always going to be the one asking questions. And if they don't ask me what I do or don't care to ask me, then that's fine. I'm not going to hold it against them, but it is what it is. But I'm never going to go to an event. And I used to do this, go to an event where you go and immediately start talking about what you do because there was so much pressure for me to sell back in the day. So I'm like, I got to get this sale. I'm sure we'll talk about that in more detail. But good networkers are great listeners. Like, period. You have to be a good listener, and people recognize that shit.
I think another thing to add to that too is, and this could also be a pitfall. Any strength could be a weakness. Is curiosity. Like if you're not curious and you're just
lead with it.
And that's the thing. But granted, like I also say it's a pitfall is because like my boundless curiosity sometimes I will just end up in like a hippie trailer with like orbs and like dream catchers, and I'm like, dude, how the fuck did I get here? You know what I mean? So. These are like just conversations. I'm like, dude, like, what are we even talking about? But that's the thing. It's like, all right, I love people. And then in that, I've met some like just wild people, just like insanely successful people that just do awesome stuff that I've had friendships now for like 20 years. But
I've heard you ask some wild questions.
Yeah, but I'm curious. Sometimes they offend, but other times it's just somebody's like, all right, that's something that we can build on.
I learned more about Uber drivers just sitting in the back seat of an Uber with John. He knows their entire life story.
Yeah, it's interesting.
By the time he's done with the ride, anyways.
John, we don't need to get into the details of this one, but I'll never forget. I went to a networking event one time at the Sears Tower, Willis Tower, with John, and and I had to leave a little early to get back to the fam.
You left me hanging, man.
And John text, dude, I can't even read the text out loud that you sent me, but you had met a very interesting fella at that event. We all did, and I didn't see it. The guy had a few drinks in him and then started to open up a little bit to John.
Yeah.
I don't know, John, you can figure out a way if you want to tell this story or not, but it's a great.
No, we probably have to
funny
bleep this part out, man. Like, dude was hitting on me like hardcore, man. Like, he wanted to make a family with me, and I'm like, dude, like, all right, man, like. And he's a pretty high-powered guy in Chicago too. I was just like, all right, like this is not safe for anything, and I got to get out of here. And I was just like, where'd Jared go? Because he left me with this fucking bastard.
That was so good. All right, other things that bug the shit out of me at networking, and again, I probably used to do this. I did used to do this, but I think so. Experience, I think, gets people to the point where they realize what works, what doesn't work for them. Like, your goal as a networker should be to go into a room and walk out of that room and not have one person know that you're trying to sell, that you're a salesperson, right? I don't want, if somebody comes up to me and they reek of sales, then that's going to be a problem. I just don't want to deal with that. Nobody wants to be sold to, and they think they're going to be sold to. So I can't stand when you go, I have a few pet peeves around this, obviously. When you go to a networking event, and somebody will literally go there only not looking to help anybody out, only looking for clients. Mm-hmm. So they're going there. Once they find out that I'm not their ideal client profile, they'll immediately stop talking and they'll look for ways to get out of the conversation. Right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not done even asking questions about their business,
dude,
whatever.
That's so shitty.
And it's just like, all right. And sometimes I just to fuck with them, I continue to like ask them more detailed questions. And I know that they're like pressured to leave because they keep looking right by you. Whatever. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. Even bigger than that pet peeve, though, are the people that make promises or tell you they're going to do something and they're complete fucking liars at a networking event. Like, you go to an event, you meet somebody, you have a good conversation, and somebody says, you know what? There's something here. Like, why don't you shoot me over an email or connect with me on LinkedIn. Let's connect after this. Let's talk through it. Or I got somebody that you should be talking to, whatever that ends up being. And then you do that, exactly what that person says to do, and they completely ghost you. It's like, Why would you even spend the fucking time lying to me? Like, what are we even doing at this point in time? That makes you look like a real piece of shit. And people talk, right? So if you were somebody that does that, then
it's a weird thing, like, that they're doing that to like feign interest and then not.
You haven't got that? You get
no,
that,
I have. Yeah, no, I have. And I mean, I just dealt with a situation the other day where I was going to buy something, and I told the guy, "Hey, I'm going to research it after everything you send me, and then if I don't like it, I'm gonna just tell you no or whatever." He's like, "Oh, that's awesome, man." He's like, "No questions asked. Just tell me yes or no." I was like, "All right." And then, I told the guy, it was via text. I was like, "Yeah, it's, it's not now, maybe next year or something." He's like, "Why? I thought you were going to buy it." He's like, what are the reasons? I was like, "You said no questions asked." I was like, ugh. Yeah, it's no, maybe next year. You know what I mean? But I think you got to be careful, like, with that level of integrity, because you can like fall into those traps and then like move forward. And then just somebody like that, they just don't have that integrity, man. They're just going to ghost.
And some of the people are like, literally think that they're too good. Anybody that thinks they're too good for somebody else.
My status is higher than yours.
That is that's at the top of my all-time
I drive a premium Camry.
People that that cheat at golf. Like, if you think you're too good to talk to somebody, it's like not a good thing. Story. My first networking experience as a professional. So I worked for this company out of school. We talked about the company before, Spyglass, and the founder of Spyglass was like, "Hey, I want you to get out and like network. I want you to join some networking groups. Like, get out there so we can start meeting more people and see." Like, we sold to CFOs. So he's like, "Here, try this one." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll give this one a shot." And I remember I went to the first networking event, and it was in like this hotel, this room in a hotel, like a conference room. And I walked in and we start sitting down. I'm immediately looking like, are there any CFOs in this room? Like, who can I sell to in this room? Like, that was where my head immediately
The hunt
went.
is on.
And we sat down and we did our like things around the room. And I was talking to this guy next to me. I was like, we're having a really good conversation. Like, I think there could be something here. Like, this is my win out of this group, because I was told, like, come back with one win out of the networking group and all this stuff, share leads with each other, whatever. So we're talking, having a good conversation. And I asked the guy, I'm like, oh, so what do you do? Like, what for a living? And I thought he was going to say, like, because most of the people in the room are finance execs. I'm an entertainer. I'm like, what do you mean you're an entertainer? He's like, what does that mean? He's like, well, like, parents hire me to perform at their kids' birthday parties. I'm like,
You're a clown or
like a magician? And he's like, yeah, kind of. I'm that too. He's like, I'm like more of a clown. My stage name is this. And the guy's a clown. It's the first person I ever met. I don't fucking remember. It was like 20 years ago. Yeah. It was the first networking experience I had where I thought I was like having a great conversation, but I was literally having a conversation with a clown.
Apeoso, as we like to say in Espanol.
I mean, Jared, don't cut him short. Maybe that clown knew a lot of. Maybe he worked for a lot of high net worth families and CEOs that could have got you business. You know what I mean? You gotta think
one of the wealthiest guys I met was on. It was on somebody's else. It was their yacht, wasn't my yacht. And I was in my early 20s, and talking, and he was just sitting by himself. And that's another thing too about networking. Find the person that's not in the circle. And include them. Like, that's the coolest thing you can do, because the more inclusivity you create, nobody likes high school where there's like this little broken off clique. But anyway, just started chatting with this guy, and I asked him what he did, and he's like, I help park cars for a living. I was like, that's cool, man. So we're kicking back drinks and all that, having a good time, and just bullshitting. Anyways, yeah, he doesn't park cars. He built parking garages. Like, this dude was like insanely wealthy, but like he was just kind of passed off because he was just like on the side or whatnot. And yeah, man, we had a good time. So
yeah,
that clown might have like a franchise of creepy Chuck E. Cheeses or something. I don't know how to make money being a clown.
Yeah, well, I was 20. I was a young kid at the time.
You blew it. You blew it.
Whatever. My career trajectory would have changed had I just engaged a little bit more with the clown. You brought up the fact that, and we've all done it before. At least John and I have. I don't know if James has. Maybe you have. I've seen John do it, where we are at a group and we're having conversations about what Netflix show we're watching or whatever. It's a business networking event. And then somebody does awkwardly just kind of stand there on the side and walk up. And it's an uncomfortable feeling. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because you should bring those people in.
Always.
Even if, like, we had remember the one time we were having like a fun conversation about concerts or whatever we were talking about. It's all about relationship building, like building trust. And then this guy we invited into the circle, he went immediately into pitch mode. Immediately started talking about his business and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Remember that? And we were just like, well, that kind of killed the mood. So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
It might have been his first event, though. He might have been like, us.
Trust me, it was not his first rodeo.
Yeah, that just sucks then.
Yeah.
All right, I want to dovetail. I don't want to take over the conversation, but I do think we need to pivot into like why we, despite all these terrible stories, people should be networking and what the point of the whole thing is. Because I think that's what gets.
I agree.
That is what people get wrong about it, is that when you go to a networking event, you should not be trying to sell anything, which sounds counterintuitive, because why else would you go to a networking event? Google this so I don't have to explain the entire thing, because I probably won't do it justice anyway, but the Center of Influence Network, the COI network, is a force multiplier that will get you more sales, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a founder, whether you're anybody, whether you're just trying to do your next job search. Having a group of people that know you, like you, trust you, understand what you do, and will make referrals for you out of the goodness of their heart. That is ultimately, like, when I was running Growth at Higher Well, 75% of our business came from referrals. It's like a mind-boggling amount. Now, I don't think that's abnormal within services firms. You know what I mean? But making a structure out of it to actually build and create your COI network, and that's the reason for doing this. So. Let me get into the first, like, step one, what I actually do at networking events. All the things you guys that Jared and John talked about. So I'm usually talking about TV and movies, things writing that I like, things, hobbies, stuff like that. And you're really just trying to vibe with people and find out who you like and get along with. Like, so having a genuine conversation And then at some point it comes up, oh, what do you do? What do you do? Well, whatever. But when you get someone you actually enjoyed talking to about real shit that you actually care about, as opposed to like, I'm going to make the assumption for everyone in the room and anyone listening, like your job is not the thing you care about most, and it's probably the right thing for everybody, but you can make that connection later on, right? The second thing I do is I will connect with people on LinkedIn. Just say, hey, let's connect. Great talking with you. Again, not pitching, not trying to sell them anything, nothing like that. But then the next morning after I go to an event, I'll always like send them a follow up, like, hey, great talking to you. Would love to chat, get coffee sometime, 1-on-1 if you're ever open to it. Happy to help any way I can. Again, not selling anything, just offering to like another in-person 1-to-1 direct message, direct meeting. At which point you can actually have a more serious like. That's when you can have not the sales conversation, but the, hey, what do you do? Let's talk about our businesses. That way we can actually get down to like, can we help each other out? You know what I mean? But that's an easier conversation to have once you've already vibed about like fucking sports or TV or movies or something else like that. They actually know you're a real person, not just someone trying to get on their calendar, and vice versa, because this has to be a two-way street with everything else you do. Now, that is how, when I meet new people at events and how I kind of tie in business kind of after the fact, the COI network, which is what I was talking about, it's as simple. What you're trying to do is build your own personal referral network, channel network, affiliate network, wherever you want to call it. People who will make intros to their boss, to their friends, to their company they used to work with, to investors they know, whatever. They're not doing it because like you hard pitch them and convince them to it. They're doing it because they like you, and vice versa. Like you have to be willing to do this for other people. And it really comes down to like, as you have more of these conversations, I have a list of about 150 people that I've just gotten to over the years. And I'll reach out to 2 or 3 every day. Just say like, usually a lot of times LinkedIn DMs or maybe email, and just be like, what's up? Like, here's what's new in my life. Just left Hirewell, doing some other things nowadays. Love to tell you about it. Like, I would love to catch about what you're doing, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But when I was at Hirewell, it was always like talking about like a quick, like, hey, here's what we're seeing in the market. What are you guys seeing? Let me know if you want to catch up. No pressure. But, roughly a third of those, like I usually get a response, people saying, hey, it's great to hear from you. Everything's good here. But people are like, yeah, let's chat sometime. And when you have those conversations, it just makes it so much easier to, again, some of those times you do end up selling those people, but a lot of times it's they know somebody, or they have a friend who could use help, or they have a friend they think might be interested. And that is so much easier than just spamming people for sales when you have your own, like, it's a force multiplier having a group of people who know you and like you and trust you, and vice versa, who are willing to make intros for you. And that is the entire purpose of networking, because the only way to continue growing that network is to go out and meet people.
Dude, I think you said
well said.
Yeah.
Mic drop. That's
yeah,
it.
100. So you have 150. Like, where do you like track those? As you put those in like a CRM, and this is the last time I reached out to them, or you just kind of like just feeling like I haven't talked to that guy
Google
in a while?
Sheet. I Google Sheet it, and if you know I think my Google assistant's going to kick off here because I said that. Control semicolon updates the date in any kind of spreadsheet, and so I just go through, sort by date, like who haven't I talked to. I try to at least message everyone every 3 to 4 months, so I'm hitting people up like 3 or 4 times a year. And again, these aren't like spam messages, people who know me, so it's just like 3 lines of, hey, here's what I've been up to, what are you up to, you good, come on, chat, grab coffee. You gotta be willing to grab coffee or meet people in person, and that's
Mine's
when you're
in my
having
CRM.
Conversations like a friend, not conversations like someone you're selling to.
I think that's the key.
That.
That's the key. And like mine's in my CRM. So I have a field for COIs in the CRM that I'll go through and like just check usually once a week, and to figure out, like, as I plan on Friday for next week or Sunday for next week, I'll go through and figure out in my COI list, like, who haven't I talked to in a while. And it's the same, maybe not as stringent, James, as you, but we all have similar processes, I think, to it. Yeah. One of the things that you talked about was building relationships and just having conversations about things we actually care about, and not talking shop and all these. I used to love going to conferences when I was doing more sales, like for another company, going to conferences across the country, like looking to see who was going to be at that conference that I could is a potential target or whatever, because you'd get the list ahead of time. And then having my target list. These are the people I want to get in front of and meet at the conference. And it was never usually during the day, during the sessions, like when you were jumping around. It was always like, hopefully they're going to be there afterwards, like during happy hour or whatever that is, because I would figure out a way to get into the conversation that they were having, but I would never tell them what I did. And that's the key piece of it, because that, as soon as you jump into a conversation, you start talking to somebody about just like shit going on in life or passions, whatever that is, shows you're watching on Netflix, that person's guard immediately starts to come down, right? Because they're like, okay, this person's not going to sell to me. And once that guard comes down, it opens them up then for them to ask you the question, well, what are you doing here? You usually have a badge or something on, like what's Outworks or what's so-and-so. And then you explain it to them. And one of two things usually happens. One, they're going to continue to ask you questions, or two, they're going to either say, I need this, or I know somebody that needs this. So it's because you pulled their guard down by not going in and immediately talking shop. And then you also talked about like how you take that conversation offline. I know, James, you love talking about golf, but that's why golf is so great for networking.
Yeah, golf and
fishing. Like you literally can golf for 4.5 hours and not talk business one time. Then at the end, you say, hey, this is what we do, whatever that ends up being. Let's have a coffee and something to talk about it. So it's that follow-up conversation once you've already built the relationship.
I was at a golf event 3 months ago, and the entire time with this foursome, like, really didn't talk about business. On the 18th hole, as soon as we're finishing up, I met like the coolest guy, and then we've already done a deal together. So yeah, like literally, it was just kind of like bonding, and then yeah, that's how it works. But or you could have a spreadsheet of 150 people that you follow up with quarterly. I mean, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not mutually exclusive.
I think that's probably the biggest takeaway here, though. Like, I mean, if you actually have that level of intention with it, like
well, you have to stay top of mind with people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's the thing.
That's marketing.
Like,
yeah.
If there's someone who knows you and likes you, but you haven't talked to them in 2 years, they're not going to fucking remember you when you.
You could create consistent content on platforms like LinkedIn.
If they're on LinkedIn, though, man, I think a lot of people are.
Anyways,
taking a hiatus.
There's a couple other things I wanted to say. I don't know how much more you guys want to chat about this, but
I got good stories. I got a good positive networking story.
All right, let me interject one thing that relates to COI network. I gave a presentation on building a COI network and how to do this networking stuff. I don't want to say the organization was with, but it was received positively. It was a group of sales leaders and individual contributors, different levels. And there was mostly positive, some negative feedback. Now, here's what was interesting. The positive feedback was all pretty much the same. It was always, this is a good approach. I know I don't do enough of this. I never knew how to do it. I always feel awkward. Thanks. This is something I know can help me with sales. I need to kind of point out these are mostly SaaS professionals, not service professionals. The negative feedback was universally, this won't help me make money this quarter. Or I don't do a lot of in-person events because a lot of my sales are remote. Which just kind of brings it was one of those things where like I get the feedback, but not to again go back to the past episodes about outbound, but like outbound sellers like just have, if that's the reason, because you just like it's not going to help you make money this quarter, you need something that's like fast direct response. This takes time, admittedly, but you have to start doing it now for it to be effective in 6 months, and then in which case it makes your year. But on the flip side too is I don't know how people are going to be able to stay in business doing sales if they don't have a relationship-based thing. And actually, let me get my last point out, because I'm concerned about where AI is taking us from the standpoint of, as of a month ago when I left Hirewell, the sales recruiting division was the one doing the best. Sales was like everyone realized that like if you're in tech, if you're like all these other skill sets can be replaced by AI more easily than relationships. Now, the problem is that sellers who aren't relationship focused, sellers who are a ton of outbound focused, systematic process focused, using templates, they're using Clay. I'm not going to dunk on Clay again, those type of things. If that's what their play is, eventually everything they do can be replaced by AI. Like the one thing that makes you different than the computer is your ability to go out and meet people, have them like you, want to work with you. That's the one thing that a computer can't eventually push you to the side on. So that's why I feel like it's super important, because if you want to AI proof your career as a salesperson, it's the only thing you'll ever have that they won't be able to replace. Sorry.
I remember seeing a presentation at I don't know, an event, and they were like listing like all of these skills, right? That for salespeople, the best salespeople. All of those skills were soft skills. Good listener, You know what I mean? It was just like good human type stuff. It wasn't the person that was like this amazing technologist and setting up systems and implementing. So yeah, I just here. I agree.
Do you think, one, do you think that those are excuses from them?
Yeah.
And then two, do you blame that on them more, or do you blame that on their leader, their sales leader, whoever they report to? By and are they not giving them the opportunity to do that? Are they asking to do that, or are they just, again, using this as an excuse?
Can I jump in real quick and add a
Sure.
clarifying point?
Sure.
Those people, if it was SaaS, they might not have high involvement purchases.
Yes.
Like if
that's part of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so if
that's
it's
a
like a
good
$10 transaction, like you can't network your way into solving that problem.
Yeah, but
That
that's
is
why
part of it.
also why those roles can be very, very easily replaced.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything that's I don't like solution selling isn't exclusive to services, but services it's always service. It's always solution selling, whether people realize it or not. Software can or can't be. Like there are software plays that are solutions based. There's one transactional place. Anybody's more of a transactional sell inherently by the product. I agree. It's not the best method, but that's why that seller, to Jared's point, might have an expiration date on their career, or not that person, but that function. That was kind of my first take. I also think that on some level, certain organizations might have more of a consultative, like they could have more of a consultative approach, a more strategic sell. They just have outdated leadership that still looks at like, if I hire this many salespeople, I'm going to make this much revenue. And if they send this many messages, like they look at it as a spreadsheet still, instead of like, how can we actually use channel partnerships and referral partnerships as a force multiplier to actually make us drive more revenue.
It could also have been smaller companies too. Like, I mean, anytime we see a company that just like, or people that think in absolutes, it's simple on a very finite focused thing. Yeah. But if the larger you grow, for instance, like somebody says, all right, I'm just going to do paid ads and I'm not going to do PR, right? It's just, okay, well, you can do that. That's not the best solution. Like you should have something that's a little bit more integrated. And I think some people just get too focused on their absolute, like, no, we only do cold outbound. Just like, okay, all right, cool. Then go fuck yourself. I mean, what do you want me to do with you?
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Bad groups.
I also feel that they're at somewhat of a disadvantage. Like the remote, and this is why I think that anybody that's coming out right now and selling needs to take a serious look at what type of selling they're doing and what type of company they go work for. Mm-hmm. Because the remote workforce absolutely is killing the ability to network positively in a good way. Like remote selling is hard because it's good. Yeah. But it's, think about like when we were like, there used to be so much more in-person things that we used to do, and now they're not like this younger sales workforce can work all remote for the most part, and they're not around other people, they're not interacting with other people, they're not going out and going to networking events because frankly they may not be the best communicators because they haven't had to communicate that much.
Yeah. Well, I still think it also comes down to like people buy from people they like and trust. Yeah. And they like you and trust you more if they've actually met you in person, not on a Zoom.
They know.
And so there is a dichotomy there where like there are some companies that might be so niche that like they have to sell to multiple markets where they don't have like you. But that's where traveling salespeople who fly across the country, kind of that's fallen out of favor because everyone would rather like I'll just sit in Zoom or I'll have people in different parts. But that's why that's always been kind of an effective method where certain high level sellers that they travel to their client sites. Like you have to be willing to do that. But it's the same for going out and meeting people the first time. I think that when everything got Zoomified, everyone thought, hey, this is an easier, cheaper way of doing business, but it's not a more effective way of doing business.
Yeah. Good story to cap it. And this is one of those, like, even when you don't feel like doing it, you just got to go and do it. I'm not a huge fan of virtual networking groups. I would much rather be in person. Virtual networking groups, I just you don't get the same one-on-one time because usually there's a time limit as opposed to where you could talk to somebody else for an hour, 2 hours and get to know them versus like you're on like tight timeline. Anyway, I went to a virtual networking group one time, didn't really want to go to it, and went around, everybody did their introductions on the networking chat, and ended up not getting a ton from it. Met some good, decent people. It was like fine. I don't know if it's like worth following up or anything like that. Because you need to do those a few times to really get to know somebody virtually before you actually trust them. I got an email from a guy that said, "Hey, regarding what you do, I think I have somebody that would be really good for you. It's a guy that I used to work with that I've become friends with." So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Potential referral that came out of this one conversation. Made the connection with the guy. Actually, I talked to this guy first, gave him a little bit more background on what we do. He made the connection to this other guy. That company now is our best client. Well, that, by far. We started working with the CEO. He's brought us in to work with 5 people on his team. We love working with this company. We love working with everybody on their team. And that was one of those networking virtual events that I was just like, I do not want to go to this. I didn't have to go to it, but I committed to somebody. I'm like, yeah, I'll show up on this call and see how it goes. And ended up working out. So it's just,
Those are like some
you
of
just
the
have to
best
power
nights
through.
too. Like when you're like, oh, I don't feel like even going out and like when I was
Yeah.
younger, I don't feel like partying tonight, and you go out and it's like, oh man, it was the most epic night ever. But
Same thing.
totally. I think I think any collection of people, whether it's going to be virtual or in person, has to do with the people that are going to be in that room. So if there's a high bar for that membership, it's quality, right? So I'm in a few different virtual networking groups, and some of them are great. There's others that are bad, and the continual pattern of the ones that are bad is they just let in anybody. And I just, when you do that, all you're doing is watering down the group, and all the good people are going to leave. So if anybody listening is a part of a group, complain to whoever owns it about creating a bar and a standard, and it'll be better. And even in some of those, you just got to sift and find, and there's really fantastic people in there. I've had some long-term relationships because of it. But yeah, that's
what's the phrase?
biggest
You got to
thing.
kiss a lot of frogs to find the good groups, because there's
I
definitely
mean,
really good
it's
groups.
kissing them and them, man. I mean, I don't want to do either. Maybe we need.
All right, that is a wrap for episode 22 of the Business is Bullshit podcast. Catch us on iTunes and Spotify, YouTube. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, John Sirakis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit. Thanks, John.
You fucking idiot. That was so great.